Got a quick little giveaway. It's a train t-shirt. It's got a little sort of silhouette of the train. Does anybody know what it costs if you own your own private rail car? It's like owning an RV. What would Amtrak charge you per mile to pull your rail car around the country? Close.
$1.17.
Close. Stay in the 25, the quarter category. $1.50 was close. No.
$1.75.
75. There you go. So we haven't moved it yet, but TriMet is very quickly coming into our space, and the new Max line is going to go right through where our rail car is right now. So we are going to be moving here in the next, who knows, anywhere from a couple months to a couple years as the new Max line comes in. So Cascade Web Development was founded in 2001. We started as a traditional web development company, and as technology changes very fast, we decided to start building our own software tools. So we first built Evergreen, which is a content and data management system. That's what the Sokol-Blosser site runs on. Then we moved into WhitePass, which is a project management tool. I'm sure a lot of people in here have used the tool Basecamp. WhitePass is essentially a customizable Basecamp, so it does a lot of similar things, but when you want to change it to your business process, we can do that. And then BrandLive is a live video tool that's traditionally used for product companies to visually convey their products. It's like a webinar, but it's video based, so when you have something physical to show, it works better than a screen share session, and that's actually what we're using today. So thanks for joining us, everybody who is watching the AMA event remotely. So, Dr. Evil. I've been a little bit congested. I had huge plans of trying to impersonate Dr. Evil, but I'll spare you guys the details on that. The reason I put a picture of Dr. Evil up here is anytime we go into a project, and when somebody like Sokol-Blosser comes to us, as he was mentioning, the amount of information and things that you need to think about in order to sell one to make sure you don't get off a plane and get arrested one day is crazy. Plus, add on top of that social media, plus add on top of that any number of software tools that you can use, content that you want on your website, features that you want on your website, e-commerce tools. The list, there's literally a million things that you could do when you're building a website. And so hopefully today what I'm trying to convey to you is how the process that we use to narrow that down from a million things to the things that are going to be right for the client and things that will actually fit into their budget. So we start with sort of different layers of technology, and as a general sort of overall way of how our company operates, we're definitely a little bit more technology focused. So as marketers, we need to kind of embrace that a little bit and understand that information needs to flow from the bottom to the top and the top to the bottom very effectively in order to deliver on marketing promises. So think about like Zappos.com, right? One of their big customer value propositions is that every once in a while they'll just surprise you and you get your product 2 days later, right? Well, the only way that that is possible is if you can go from the moment that you searched for the website to the time that you found it on the front end of the website to the time that you actually navigated around to content, placed your order, and then it went into their inventory system and their shipping system. If that information doesn't flow fast enough, then there's no way they're delivering on their customer promise. Same thing with Sokol-Blosser, except it's a little bit different promise. They're ensuring that from the time you find their website all the way to the time that you get your product, it's a seamless and smooth process, in spite of the fact that it's really a nightmare on the back end, essentially, for them to be able to manage all that content. So at the inventory sort of ERP level, you might even, this is like back-end business software, so you might even have something like QuickBooks, retail POS systems. And then when you get into the e-commerce category, there are some levels of e-commerce that are pretty generic, and it depends on what industry you're in. Obviously, in the wine industry, it's quite complex. And so in this case, we had to use an intermediary e-commerce system that automatically integrated with things like Ship Compliant. Actually, sorry, on the back end, when each time you go into a project, or if you are doing a website project yourself, or if you're going to help somebody do a website project, obviously you want to ask the question, what is on the back end? So when we went into Sokol-Blosser, they use a system called WIMS, and so we had to start asking right away, how is WIMS set up? How do you get information into and out of WIMS quickly and efficiently? So that ended up being a huge part of our project that doesn't even really get seen on the front end. And then you have the web content management system, which Michael went into a lot of detail on in terms of meeting their goals. How can they make sure that they have a website that's going to have a good shelf life and something that's going to be changed on a regular basis? And then front-end code, again, a million options. Flash design, like you said, used to be sort of really popular and probably would fit very well with a brand like Sokol-Blosser because of the experience that you want to create. But as code and technology changes, newer and newer things are becoming available. So you really need to ask questions around that layer of what the website is to find out what's going to work and what's not going to work. Of course, SEO, SEM, and social, this is all about driving traffic to the site. And it might be that there are sections of the website that already have content that are either search friendly or fit very well into social media. You want to take those pieces of content, make them easily shareable so that they can get onto the social networks, be seen by people, and then drive traffic back to your website. Third-party tools actually kind of, if you could take a paintbrush, it goes all the way through every one of those layers of building a website. That's everything from like Authorize.net, which is a pretty common credit card processing system, even a SSL, which is a secure socket layer that basically encrypts credit card information as you're sending it across. And even things like Facebook and Twitter fall into that third-party tools category. So as we mentioned, I'll skip over this a little bit because here I was just going to talk about the complexities of selling wine, things like requiring to have different certificates in various states, managing tax, Ship Compliant, etc. So we had to deal with the whole aspect of making it clean and simple to get this really nice product. But we also wanted to make it look really good on the front end, right? I mean, buying wine online isn't necessarily, it's not like buying shoes online. It maybe doesn't happen as much. And actually a point that I should make, because of the complexity of selling wine online, if you are involved in a winery or you're going to help a winery build a website, you really have to do the ROI calculation on it, because if you're a small winery, it's most likely not worth your while to try and get over all these hurdles, so to speak. If you have a brand like Sokol-Blosser that translates really well, that they've already put a lot of equity in, that has multiple brands that are sharing content and traffic between them, there's an opportunity to take advantage of, and that's what we did here. But we've worked with smaller wineries or even bigger wineries that don't necessarily translate all that well. You have to do that ROI calculation and make sure that it's worth it. Because the other thing that you want to focus on is obviously the brand experience in the front end for people to get excited about the brand and excited about the wine. And I'm going to show you a couple comps that ended up hitting the cutting room floor and never got to the final stage. But I thought that they were kind of fun and showed some ways that we explored the visual experience of wine. So one of the things that we felt, a lot of wineries had a traditional e-commerce layout, and so one of the things that we wanted to do is kind of create, one, bring the Sokol-Blosser label, which we felt like had some really nice design elements, into the website, and two, really capture the experience of what's inside a bottle of wine. What is it? What is the culture of drinking wine, and what is that experience? And then connecting that to the beautiful place that Michael talked about. So this concept was sort of looking through a glass of red wine. This concept was, going into a glass of Chardonnay. One of the fun things that we did that made its way into the final design in various ways was a bottle of wine. Its label doesn't really show all that well on the web because it wraps around. So we took the label and kind of peeled it back a little bit to try and reveal a little bit more of the nice design elements that the label already had. Here's another one too, just kind of looking through, and this one ultimately wasn't practical just in terms of showing content, but we felt like it had some nice elements to it. And here's where we ended up, and again, I think the heritage aspect of this was really important. And this image up in the top, if you end up going to the Sokolblosser website over the course of the year, Kitri, their marketing manager, will be able to, with the click of a button, say, make this image active or make this image active. And she has about 10 images that she can, with the click of a button, swap between the website for seasonality and just updating. And then the middle large image, she can update as many images as she wants, as often as she wants. And then the e-commerce, it's important to have the call to action up front right there. And they've, as Michael mentioned, done really well about changing out that product call to action on the homepage. So talk just a little bit more about the front end. I can go into more detail. There's a lot to discuss on how the back end comes together, and you can ask questions about that or feel free to contact me anytime. But from a design perspective, I walked through some of that. The homepage, again, is very easy to change. The product page, they have varying levels of content for different products, so we needed to build in ways to meet the needs of that content. Some products have videos, some products have food pairings, mostly everything has a related product, so really kind of cross-linking product pages to other product pages was important. And then of course the community engagement, getting content up on the site easily in the news section. They do an awesome job with the blog, lots of photos, lots of videos on the blog, short text posts. Testing? Okay. So the blog is really cool. I would suggest checking out that section of the site. Events, as Michael mentioned, we have kind of an aggregator type system. So events was one of the areas that we tied in the content that they have and the search engine optimization goals and needs, and we decided to put a lot of content in the events section that doesn't relate to Sokolblosser. So let's say it's the Pinot Noir Festival that Sokolblosser maybe isn't even a sponsor or something like that. Well, anybody who is searching for that festival may stumble upon the Sokolblosser website and that event details page, as long as there's enough rich content about it there. And then they're going to be not only finding out what they were looking for, but they're also getting the Sokolblosser brand experience. So that was kind of an area that we really hit on to drive some SEO-friendly content and traffic. And then Sokolblosser Live is the video component. That's the brand live component where they have the option to engage in the trade with their trade constituents and channel sales, restaurants, distributors, etc. And the channel sales supporting that as well. There's lots of content, pricing sheets, high resolution images, etc. And originally when we launched the site, actually that section of the site was sort of password protected, and if you wanted to get in there you had to fill out just this little form, and that was nice to build some additional distribution. And just a couple weeks ago actually, Michael decided to remove that step in the process, feeling like, okay, we're not looking necessarily for distributors anymore, and this content is ready and available to be accessible to the public. And so they changed it to just be able to access that content directly. I think that was it. So I think we're ready to take questions.